and those who believe in fabulated invented gods and tin gods, as these all are, they have turned away from the truth and have assembled together in peoples of godliness belief, and wage war against other peoples with death and destruction if they belong to another godliness religion, and have different gods and tin gods, and all amongst them lie by saying that their godhead or their tin god is the same and the only one for all peoples and for each godliness religion, and for all sub-godlinesses sex cults, that only one God exists for all and all the believers in gods and tin gods. They lie that their God or tin God loves them and all people of their kind human beings, and is kind-hearted to all, providing it is loved and prayed to in submissiveness by its believers. However, those who are unbelievers and have rejected it or disapprove it with words and thoughts and feelings shall be met with the accusation of reproach and made to fear, so that they receive a punishment from their God or tin God which shall be meted out to them by believers. But truly, this is not part of the wellspring of all love creation, because its laws and recommendations are directed towards true love and the well-being of all creatures' forms of life, towards their peace and freedom and consonance harmony, and all these high values are granted by the laws and recommendations of the wellspring of all love creation, without differentiation between the type of creature form of life, because truly, its laws and recommendations do not demand from any of its creatures' forms of life even one iota of punishment for delinquencies, transgressions, offenses, wrongdoings, etc., because each creature form of life imposes a punishment on itself through a delinquency, transgression, offense, wrongdoing, etc., from which it may learn and recognize and become more knowing and more wise. And truly, the misdeeds, errors that you commit are stones on the path of cognition and of unfolding evolution that you are treating. Therefore you shall pick up the stones which are the misdeeds, errors, and place them carefully at the side of the path lorn, so as to pick them up once again and continue carrying them, continue learning, when it is necessary. And truly, on your path of cognition and of unfolding evolution, you are walking alone in yourselves, because it is in yourselves that you have to do the work of learning, the work of investigation, research, recognition and unfolding evolution. From outside of yourselves you only have sight and hearing, and taste and touch, as well as the words and the teaching of the true prophets, from which you can accomplish everything that you had to investigate, research, and to recognize, see, within yourselves, so that you may become knowing, conscious, and wise, and therefore righteous, conscientious, and fair, responsible, and fulfill the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all modesty creation. And if you follow the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life, and therefore the truth of the laws and recommendations of the wellspring of all equitableness, fairness, creation, then you can be assured that you will find in it true friendship, as can never be amongst people of your kind, fellow human beings. Even when you gather in a great crowd to defeat the untruth and become friends in inseparability, connectedness, keep yourselves distant from those who make a mockery of your love of truth and joke about it amongst people of their kind, like-minded ones, and amongst all those whom they meet. And keep yourselves distant from those who make a mockery and a joke of it when you dedicate yourselves to the teaching of truth, or when you make prayers, invocations, edification to your own inner world consciousness, because they do it out of lack of understanding and go around in foolishness. The mockers who make jokes about the truth are those who reproach the truth-loving ones for their righteousness, conscientiousness, and equitableness, fairness, and virtues, because they themselves are too stupid to recognize, see, the truth and to understand it, because they prefer to be malefactors, doers of misdeeds, and deniers of truth. But also be fair to those who mock and joke with the truth when they approach, harass, attack you, and you cannot avoid them. Treat them as a people of your kind, human beings, and do not heed their wrongdoings, but strive to point out to them with clear words and without give out terror what they are doing wrong. Do not threaten them, and do not make them worse than they are. Do not insult them or estimate them worse than they are, so that they will not curse you as monkeys and pigs, and that their rage will not befall you. Consider that they are confused and praying to their evil within themselves, and are bringing themselves into ever worse positions, because they were continuously straying further and further from the right path of truth. And if they come to you in an upright way because they would like to learn something of the truth of the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all primal power creation, then allow them to escape from their unknowledge of the truth by explaining the truth to them, so that they leave you as ones who are thirsty for knowledge regarding the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all primal power creation, in order to concern themselves with the truth henceforth and to be ever more connected to it. And there are many amongst those who mock and joke about the truth, who are only rebelling against the truth as mockers and jokers, because they have been led into confusion by a godliness religion, or sub-godliness as sex cults, and have fallen prey to false teachers of false prophets and self-appointed godheads and their priests and other servants' hands with helpers. And do not comply with the false teachings of these false prophets and self-appointed godheads, who forbid you in maliciousness from eating and drinking of good things which taste good to you, because truly it is terrible what they do with such false teachings, and they beat you into a godly religious servitude bondage with it. Therefore you also have scribes who bring you false teachings, because they write down the teachings of the false prophets faithfully. However, they falsify the true teaching of the true prophets. Therefore the scribes exert great might over you with their writing, because you fall prey to the words of their disingenuous eye-powder texts, writings, books, and are hanging on believing in their false guilefulness, and also your godly religious and sectarian priests and other servants' hands with hell-press of false teachings, and gods and tin gods disseminate falsehoods, deviousness amongst you. And truly everything that they do is of great disaster. And the false prophets and their priests and servants' hands with hell-press, and servants of gods and servants of tin gods slander, calumniate the truth, and lie that the teaching of truth only serves the purpose of binding your hands' thoughts and your inner world consciousness, so that you shall be accursed for the sake of what good things you learn through the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life, and they do insomic that you shall become disloyal to the truth and become like people of their kind like them. But know that the truth does not bind your hands' thoughts, nor your inner world consciousness, because on the contrary it opens your hands' thoughts and your inner world consciousness, so you become free in it and find the way that allows your hands' thoughts to reach ever further, by means of which you unendingly collect more and more knowledge and wisdom, create more and more true love in yourselves, and turn to the real peace and freedom, as well as consonance harmony, and use the powers ideas of your hands' thoughts, so that you may find the truth in yourselves, and do not allow turmoil to rise up on you through unknowledge and untruth, so that you are not cast against yourselves in hostility, and you do not hate yourselves. Therefore do not kindle in yourselves the fire of battles, wars, with your hands' thoughts, but extinguish the fire of evil that burns you up from the inside, because you are striving for non-right and non-righteousness, consciencelessness, and for virtuelessness, as well as for unpeace and unfreedom, bondage, as well as for chaos, because you are happy to wallow in it, as is the case with all causers of inequitableness, unfairness. If your forefathers and foremothers, ancestors, forebears, had been connected to the truth, then they would certainly, without doubt, also have combated and eliminated all the terrible things to which you are still attached to today, and which you falsely indulge in with joy, and do evil in unfairness, irresponsibility, as well as disingenuousness and dishonor, boldness and non-righteousness, consciencelessness, as you move far from outside of virtues. Truly you do not move in the gardens of pleasures within you, but in gardens of evil that you have created in your inner nature.